So let's go. I think I got it figured out. All right, let's take this off. There we go. Yay, I did it. Boomer learns how to use the computer. All right, it's only been a couple of years. Come on. There it is. Okay, cool. All right, let's get to it. I'm going to just take a bunch of questions today. The biggest thing that I would say to you about the ES from the way that I'm looking at it is that you're already overbought. And that's the biggest issue that I see that's out there for you right now. And that's definitely what I would be focused on. Indexes, NVIDIA, Tesla. All right, let's go through some of these names. I would definitely be looking at the ES and watching it today and just making sure that you keep pushing. It seems a little slow here. Seems like you're kind of got some weight above it. So I'd focus on that and go from there. Definitely important. I put fibs on here just so you guys can see where those fibs are. I do think it's really important to just look at those levels. And because it's doing a really good job of honoring them. Like all I did was take the top and the bottom of the movement and then just drop fibs, and it's respecting it like insanely. So, you might want to use that as a guide. As long as you're above 50, you shouldn't have net sellers. That's the 50%, because 50% is not a fib, but you shouldn't have net sellers as long as you're above that. And put that in futures observations. Put in both. And I don't think there's really much more to say about it than that. I've got a bunch of names I do want to go over with you guys, some things that are happening that I think are really interesting. And I got some names that you guys are definitely going to ask about. But again, same thing here. Take a look. Here you are, and now you can see the retracement. I don't know why 61.8 is always the most retracement level of all the levels. Like it's crazy. It really is fascinating. It makes you think you are in a simulation. But, it's human behavior. You probably have a negative divergence there already, right? Yeah, it's pretty aligned. It's probably not that bad. It's probably not that bad, is it? No. All right, cool. So here we are, and then here we are. Okay. And if we take a look at this, I think it's fairly self-explanatory, like what you need to watch. I don't think I need to spend a tremendous amount of time on it today. Like, I think it's pretty obvious. The only thing that I think that you should be somewhat aware of from my perspective is this. Like, if you look at this on a 4-hour and you drop in the RSI, you're not oversold anymore, like at all. You're all the way back. You're past neutral. And look at the hourly. But wait, there's more. Look at the hourly. Now, you don't have to roll over, but you made your whole move. Your whole move's over. So now you're in this kind of limbo. Do you take out the highs? Do you take out the lows? Well, from my standpoint, I'm not sure you're going to go anywhere. And either way, the risk versus return at this point is completely skewed. So it doesn't really the trade doesn't make as much sense as obviously when you fell down here and then you rallied back up. But, you did retrace, and I think it's good. I'm not knocking it, but I do think you have to take it with a grain of salt and now see what we really do. Don't get me wrong. Like if you gun in my head, the fact that, let's clean this off for a second, drop this down to a daily, gun to my head. If you look at the market and you see that, hey, you broke the 22. Hey, you're above the 22. Like, that's what you want. The only thing we have to do is now drill into it a little bit more, right? And we can see that here's the 15, and then you have the 8, the 5, and the 3, and they're down. Remember, I'm not the smartest bulb in the world, so that what I do is I color code these, so it just tells me about direction, right? And all this is telling me here is that when it says red, it's like a stop sign to me. Well, not a stop sign. What do they call them? Traffic lights. There you go. I think I know that. So you have red, yellow, and green. And so when red's on top, red means stop. Yay. So I just look at it that way. Green means go. Yay. So you kind of see how it works, right? Yay. And it does work. It keeps me out of trouble. Like if I look at this, I'm like, oh God, I'm not going long. I'll look at it that way. And then you're like, all right. And they might catch me here. I think I did get caught here. And then he showed up with this billboard and explained to us what liberation felt like. And I didn't like it. So if you can see the island here, does that island stand? Does it not stand? I don't know, man. Nobody knows the answer to that. All I can tell you right now is you want to watch. And if you had to tell me, like, what do you really want to watch? Here's your 5-day moving average. I would make sure that you get above that 36 before you start feeling warm and fuzzy. And I'd start wanting to see at least the 3-day start doing something like, this maybe, where it starts like curling up a little bit, because you're not really doing that right now, are you? And I think that's super important. The other thing you can always do is just drop a VWAP there and see that you did flip, which is awesome. And then the other thing I do like to do with these, I'm just going to drop it to a plane to really just see like, hey, where all the players at. And this is really what helps me when I look at like the S&P like this, from when you're just open. Obviously, you'd have to look at the futures market using the futures, but it's telling you like your point of controls right here on that whole move from here over. So, you got some stuff. I don't think it's out of the woods. I think you just might trade sideways, for a bit here, but that's okay. It's not a bad thing. We got a bunch of names you guys are going to want to go over. So candidly, we're short this in the community. We shorted it yesterday. When these names start breaking, like the 55, I use a 12, a 22, and a 55. I'm going to do a video on why I use these because I get asked it so much and what my RSI settings are. But if you look at this right in here, right? For me, I think what's super important about it is that once you break and you can't get over that, like you're pretty hosed. So if you look at the level, and I do this is like a perma short move for me, guys. See, like watch, it's right here. So if I go here and go 319, 320, right? And if I look at that 320.24 and I drop it to here, now we're going to go to here, just watch 320.24. See how you wrote it right in here? Tries to get through it, can't get through it, complete rejection. Tries to write it all night long. See it? Because they're just net sellers at that level. That's all they're doing. They're just net sellers. And they're telling you they're net sellers. So, you can either listen to them, oh God, or not. But they're net sellers at an institutional level in that name. Where do I think this goes? I think it goes a lot lower, personally. And they knew this was going to be a bad quarter. I love the stable coin idea, but it's not coming next Wednesday. So, maybe you're going to come in a little bit. You're down about 11, 12. Candidly, on the China news, I thought you should have been down more. But I think that, you can get down to this 280 fairly quickly, 295 level fairly quickly, much quicker than people think they can. We'll go from there. But we'll see how this opens. I am short and I have puts, just disclosure. And we bought the puts in the room yesterday. But, does this affect Circle? No. I think what you have to do with Circle is just understand this is going to be one of those things where we just do the IPO VWAP trade, right? Bonk, 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 bonk. No. So any of these names, that short-term names that break that IPO VWAP, you just want to stay away from, right? But you guys know that already. The only thing I would tell you about PLTR, it was a great quarter. I keep hearing how expensive it is. Do you know how expensive Amazon was before it came into its price point, before it became the cheapest name out there? Do you know how expensive it was? Like, go look it up. It was insanely expensive. And people kept saying the same thing. So, and, some people bought it and did exceptionally well, and some people didn't. And now they're in their mom's basement eating Hot Pockets. But when you look at these names, you're just trading them. So you have a band up here. I would just watch where the algos were, where they were net sellers, because you seem to be struggling with that this morning. But there's nothing to say about it, guys. It was a great quarter. They did exceptionally well. Should it trade at 160? I don't know. Should it trade at 171? It's going to trade where it trades, when people want to own it. Now, the only thing that I would say about this to the traders is I would go and take a page for you guys that are going to whack this thing around today. And this is really important. You look at the environment you're in. Do you do something like that off the open? Because Microsoft crushed, Meta crushed, and that's what you got. And, you might want to go for a 30, 40 point ride, but I don't go for those rides. Homie, don't play that. So I'm not going to do that. Now, in regards to this, I think the most important thing is to watch the first 1 or 2 minutes and see what you get. And I know that sounds like silly, but I think that's really what you want to do, because you could be in a position here where, you gap fill and you come all the way back down. I will say this, you had net buyers at that gap. And this is super important. You guys that are going to whack this around today, just watch that level. What else do I have that I thought was super interesting for you guys? Figma, for you guys that are whacking that one around, you broke your IPO VWAP, so I just stay away from those names now. I don't go near them. And that's really it. Tesla, they want to give them $20 billion so they can keep them at the company. Whatever, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. Back in my day, they used to have founders and they used to own stock in the company, and that was enough to keep them motivated. So I don't know. I mean, his entire net worth is in the stock. I mean, it's still SpaceX, and he's got SpaceX, which is worth a fortune, and it's private, and he doesn't have to bother with it. He really has no competition there. But he wants to leave. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, oh, we have to do this or he's going to leave. So then leave. There goes your net worth. So, I mean, to me, it's just another, distraction more than anything else. You're getting to a level where something's going to give. And I've been saying it for some time. Still hasn't happened. You have a massive put wall at 300 and you're just not able to break it. And I don't know that you're ever going to. So if you're not going to break it, maybe you're lifting. So if you really come into that level right here, you've never really closed below that level ever since, it is what it is. And now you got this little guy here, but you're kind of getting a pickle. I don't like this. Like this doesn't make me, if you're a shareholder, this cannot make you feel warm and fuzzy. You might love him and say, you don't understand. Yay, Elon. And that's cool. I mean, like, he's launching rockets, not me. I'm lucky I can turn the damn thing on and get the camera to work. But I got a declining 55 now, man. So, I get it. I might not understand it. I think it's really respectable what he does. But I got a declining. And you can see the decline by just going like this, right? And just say it. Like, you don't have to overthink it. You have a declining 55. Doesn't mean I don't get above it. But right now, like, you have to understand institutions are looking at this and going, I got to get out of this thing, man. I don't think self-driving is going to be what we think it's going to be. I'm going to leave it at that. I think it might be in the cities, but I don't think it's going to be what we think it's going to be. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'll tell you the two major things that I think that if you look at automotive, let me get some coffee here. And I think they're actually going to help the used car makers like greatly. And this is what I see in the market. And I'm always interested. And we got a bunch of guys that are actually in the market, like in the car market, in the community. But like, if you're trying to get into the community, a batch went out last night. and then it'll be open for 4 more days. And then I'm shutting it down to the end of August. So look in your email if you're on the list to get in, and there's a link in description. But in regards to this, I see this going a couple different ways. People are not buying the hybrids. They don't want the hybrids. And they're shunning away from EVs now because the infrastructure is not there. They might come back to them, but they're shunning away from them. And so the combustible, like going back to old school, is in huge demand. And you can see it on the high end all the way through. So what's happening is companies like CVNA, when they came out and crushed, it's because their inventory is going up in value because of the demand for those cars. That's why, like, even Porsche came out and said, we have to revamp all of this. Like, Porsche came out and said it. They just fired the head of Jaguar too. But Porsche came out and said it. Well, Jaguar was a disaster with that ad. I don't know who they were going after, but I think that's interesting. And I think there's something to that with these car manufacturers. I don't understand why they're rolling over. Maybe because the people think the consumer's weak. I'm not sure the consumer's really weak, but we'll get to that. Let's go. I'm going to blow through these super quick. We're going to do lightning round. Good morning. That's a first one. So, I don't know, man. I keep thinking you're going to roll over here, but that's not my area. You're kind of wedged in here. So until I see weakness, I'm not going near it. I'm not. I know what you're saying, Julian. I thought it yesterday, but they came in, they bought. So it is what it is. I know I got to see some weakness before I do that. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's not for me right now. I keep looking at this, and I really wish I understood the story better. If you truly thought that this thing's going to do well into earnings, which is tonight, I don't know why people are not doing straddles on that kind of stuff, like long straddles. Buy the 2.5 puts, buy the 3 calls and just leave it on. Like, it's pretty darn cheap, or sell the 3 puts. Like, there's a lot of really interesting things you can do with this. Hold on 1 second. I had a whole list of them. I was writing it down last night because I don't have a social life. Let me see if I can find it. Let me just see this here, see if this works. And can go from there. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Oh, I think I want to do it this way. Yeah, let's do it this way. Hold on. Yeah. So they're super expensive, right? So I still think the long calls make sense, like to do the straddles. But if you're going to look at this, your call wall on this trade is like $3. I mean, if you get through $3, this thing's going to freaking rip. Like, that's the calls that everybody bought. So I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of ways to play it. Maybe it's selling the puts. Like, maybe it's selling like the 2.5s and just holding it. And if it doesn't go, it doesn't go. Or selling in the money puts, and then you just get the premium just squeezes. The question is, do they do a secondary right after it, and then you're just sitting there with like all this open stock? That's the problem. They're probably going to do a secondary tomorrow. Yeah. What's up, John? The video's got to get through the high of the day. I'm not going to cover it. I do want to cover RL. I'm not going to cover the video. We cover it every day. I'm going to give it a break. I don't really understand why we're doing what we're doing here, but man, they want to own it. You can say it. You can say it. You're 100% right here. I got earnings, man. I'm not playing this thing, right? I got earnings Thursday. I can't play that, I can't play that into earnings, but you're right. You're 100% right. It looks fantastic. What else you got? This Joby, I think they figured it out. I mean, I really do. The question for me is like, I don't know why you keep giving me bad prints here. the question really for me was like, how do I get in this thing? I saw it yesterday and it looks beautiful. Like that's your breakout. What they're doing makes so much sense. Like, oh no, we're going to buy that operating system and then these are our vehicles. Like if you really think of what they're doing there with on the vehicle side of it, they're literally doing what, Elon's talking about, or what any of these guys are talking about, or like, think about it. Like they're literally trying to become like EV aviation Uber. And it's really smart. It's really smart, man. So you can see like the movement straight out the gate on it when everybody thought that they were going to do it and it just ripped. There's definitely something to it, and it's a really smart play. Whether it works or not and they can scale it, that's the pickle. But if you really think about it, like that's exactly what all these guys are talking about, right? Like Uber's like, oh, we're just going to have all these EVs and they're all going to run around the place and they're going to be like robo taxis. But this, like hop in that thing and you're off to the Hamptons, hop in that thing and you go to the airport and you avoid all the traffic. They'll get the cost of this thing down so fast. They will be running these things left and right out of New York. Left and right out of it. And it's really interesting to say it's such a cool time to be alive, right? But I think that this thing can go a lot higher, like a lot. I don't have a position in it. People have been trading this thing since like $4 or $5. I bought this one. How's that going for me? It's not going very well. So, but that's the one that I got into. And this is clearly going to be the ant's pants, the cat's pajamas, the monkey's banana, hands down. It's very obvious if it works. Hot Pockets. I should reach out to Hot Pockets, ask them if they want to sponsor. Actually, I get offers to sponsor all the time. I'm not going to do it. I think I would do a Hot Pocket sponsor. NVIDIA, AVGO, Sophie. Yep. Did you see? Go look at the news under AVGO. They came out with Jericho. So now I think that their range is 60 miles that they can do. So it's pretty interesting. You need a 3 handle. You got to get above that close of that open. Stage 5 cleaner. Yeah, I own this. I did trim some last night. I will say this, and you get some really wild pricings overnight because you get the world to buy. I think you're good. I mean, you're going to be all over the place. Like, here's the thing you have to understand about it. For some people are like up in arms. I don't know why they're up in arms. I don't really care. I truly don't. Here's the bottom line. You're going to get a lot of people that are going to go and support this and go and buy those jeans, period. End of story. And you're going to have a quarter here that's probably going to crush. They're going to have some of this in that quarter. And they're going to talk about it. And they're going to talk about traffic to the store and showing the store. So even like the angry people that are in front of the store that need to go get jobs, even them, like they're just driving traffic to the store. And, their demographic is going to buy those jeans. Like there's no doubt about it. So I actually think that even if and again, I don't truly understand the controversy, but for me, what's so fascinating is either way, you're just going to drive traffic to the store. So if they keep the controversy up, you're going to drive traffic to the store. You don't keep the controversy, then, she's going to drive traffic to the store. Either way, their same store comp sales are going to be up considerably in August. They just are. So what they do from there, I have no idea. And then you're going to have the next quarter after that. So I think you need to be looking at this not as, I guess Trump said something yesterday, but who cares? Like, you got to understand it's all going to drive traffic to the store for the next 3 to 6 months and then go from there. I think some of these XLY names are completely way underpriced, but you have to have patience with that stuff. SMCI, you don't know. You just never know, man. You have a huge short position there. By market cap, institutionally, it's like the biggest short. I don't like crowded shorts. I would say that the right shoulder of the inverse is not as developed as the left shoulder. If the right shoulder was more developed and lower than the left shoulder of this inverse head and shoulders, I'd be more into it. What's up, Troy? Good morning from Miami. Yeah, there's really very little to say there, man. They crushed. Like you can talk about valuation, but they crushed. They absolutely crushed. And do they get bigger? I don't know. I truly don't have an answer to that, but man, they crushed. Yeah, I own BWXT. I think we're up like $20 in it this morning. Hold on. Are we now? 22. So I bought it off a break. It's a real simple break. And just the way it acted, you could just see like that and the turnover and the retests in here. It was just like such a beautiful trade. And then I stayed with it. I did trim some before earnings because I was concerned about uranium names. I think if you're going to play uranium, like there's a couple things. I know a bunch of people are buying this one and they're buying UEC too because they're cheap. And then they play like the OKLO ones. I'm just going to tell you like the way that I look at it. I like playing LEU and I like playing the BWXT. And the reason that I do that is because they make billions and billions and billions of dollars and the other names don't. So if you're an institution and you're going, I want exposure to the space, they're the names they're going to buy. And so I like doing that. The way that I learned to trade everything is really around how institutions think. So that's just how it works for me. I understand the others are going to get squeezed, but someone cannot explain this valuation to me. Like there's no way to explain 77. There's no way to explain 20. And I'm not suggesting that you do, but you still have a cup and handle and you still have a triple. I think I shorted this at like 20 when like Altman left. I'm like, that's it. It's dead. And like the next day I lost like $1. I'm like, I better get out of this. It just didn't work. But I like owning the ones that like crush, like make a lot of money. No, Giselle's hotter to me. But I'm old. I'm lucky I can walk. Huh? You got that secondary at 19. So I think Giselle's hotter. I don't know. That girl's obviously gorgeous, but I think she's hotter. I mean, you broke out. You have a flag. I don't know what your catalyst is. Is this UNH versus Meta? I would not touch UNH. I actually was thinking of, so I've been on this for some time since it started. I would not go near this thing with a 10-foot pole, man. People don't think that companies like this can go under. They can go under. Like they can get broken up. And this is what I always find fascinating about this stuff. Like, where are the short sellers on this stuff? They're always writing reports on those short floats. I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. And they've nailed, like Hindenburg, I always like bust on them, but they've nailed some things. Like they really nailed SMCI. They nailed IEP. They really have. They really did crush things. But like, there's a real problem here. Like this could get super ugly. And this idea that, it's going to be fine because it's UNH, man, you don't know that. You don't know that. And, as they start digging in and pulling things out, they might just split off the stuff into different pieces and they could break it up. And, there's a lot that could happen here, a lot. And I don't think that dividend's got a shot of staying on, right? Did they even cut the dividend? Did they say they're going to cut the dividend? Like, I can't imagine that they're going to keep that dividend. They probably cut it already, right? I still have a short in it and I don't even know. But like, zero is a number. And people are like, no. I'm like, man, zero is a number. I remember we were short back in the day. We were short WorldCom. And people say it's not like WorldCom. Okay, I watched US West go bankrupt, but and you guys don't even know that that's like a Verizon. But back in the day, they were pulling the water coolers. I'll never forget it. I had a friend that was working at like WorldCom, and they were pulling the water coolers out of WorldCom because he was killing it. He was a sales guy for telecom communications, and they were pulling the water coolers out to save money. I'm like, oh my God, this thing's toast. What else we got? Meta, I think Meta crushed. I don't know that I want to buy it yet, but it crushed. Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. The trade. It's the same people. Like you can't think like that, Char. Your job is to trade, right? You have to think. Is that Asia? Is that an Asia cover? Looks like an Asia cover. Is that an Asia cover album? Album cover, right? Okay. There goes the dyslexia. Yeah, I think you have to look at that a couple different ways. Like, who cares what they think? Who cares if they're praising it or not praising it? Like, can I make money trading it? That's it. I know I know where you're going with it. It's the same thing with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, we're going to decentralize it. It's going to be great. We're not going to have to rely on governments or anything. Please, BlackRock, please make an ETF. Like, okay, now the government's in your like now they control Bitcoin. It's just crazy. Yeah, the GE is interesting, the way that it's moving. I think it's the earnings. What I find fascinating about GE and the bounce, and you should be looking, you're dead on with the way you're thinking this. GE bouncing and taking out all-time highs when the market's consolidating and going through a tough period. 100% should be looking at that name. Super interesting that you brought it up. I was looking at GEV the other day too. Like, it's super interesting because if you look at XLI, it's not going, but GE is, right? So then you start looking at like CAT, Deere, Ingersoll Rand. Now, what are they buying? GE. I think that's super interesting that you brought that up. I actually want to actually think about this today. I'm glad you brought it up because when you get pullbacks like that, where are you? Then when you get pullbacks like that, you always want to see like like the one screen. If I could tell you guys one thing, and you take one thing from today, go run a screen on what hit all-time highs yesterday. It's so fascinating because they become the new leaders because they're the names people want to buy on the dips. 100%. That's fascinating. Thanks. Yeah, Troy, I think you just got to be, you got to pick your battles, man. We saw it on Friday with nukes when we got the doji. I'm not chasing any of that stuff, but yeah, I do. I think they're back in favor. That's good. I'm happy for you, Jonah. Self-reflection is everything, Jonah. The whole sector is going to get dragged down, and Kennedy hasn't even started yet. Yeah, I saw that put wall. I had a short on. I covered it. Oh, how to unsub? Oh, here, let me help you with that. I can help you with that. There you go. Bye, Ziga. Everyone say goodbye to Ziga. AV. I think you're in a range, man. I think you're in a range. I own this one. And I need to break 62. I don't know why you're moving today. That's what scared me even adding yesterday. I'm just going to be candid. I have so many freaking positions on here. If you get over 62, you're going to go. I don't know. There must be some new thing that they're doing. See it? See the level? See it? I don't know. One of the guys in the room will know. I'll know exactly why. I don't know. He'll know. I think you're better off with KTOS right now. I can't get above. I just can't get above it. Until I can, I'm in a trading range, man. And this is so thin for me. Like I tried to, it didn't work out real well for me. What's up? I don't know, Tone. Why? I mean, you're at the low end of the range. I mean, I get that. And you did do the gap fill, not the full one, but you did. $94, maybe. You got to get through 94. Maybe they missed, dude. You know, it's not good. Bad growth. Good morning from Cape Cod. You're always moving around, Jeffrey. Good morning from Miami. Someday I'm going to say someplace different. People are going to be like, he's moving around. You're like, where's Waldo? Oh, I haven't had a good lobster roll. I got to tell you, like Miami, the one thing Miami does do amazing, I know, shocker, Cuban food. Cuban and Brazilian food here is like absolutely insane. I mean, you guess why. But like, even the steakhouses, it's weird. Like, it's not like, you know, when you go to New York and get a steak or a Philly, you know. No. I own this too. I got to yell at somebody later. I bought this. I think you're okay as long as you hold. But it's not looking great for me. I get that. Reddit looks good. Yeah, but now they're going to do it a different way. And that's why he moved to Texas. See, I don't think the court should get involved with that. You know, the Ford thing's super interesting because they're in a lot of trouble, but they have people come in and buy it like immediately. Oh, okay. Fun fact: a loaded BMW 5 Series was more expensive. Oh, that's interesting. That is interesting. AMD, I don't really have an interest in. If you want my like, you know, I don't. They usually don't beat by a lot, and whether it goes up or down, I have no idea. Like to me, I would be on the other side of the trade. I would be buying puts. Am I buying puts? Hold on, I'll tell you in a moment. Like where the market is on that, where we are with this. Hold on. So yeah, I mean, you got like huge bearish flow on it, but and the IV is kind of expensive, but people are like, they're leaning towards shorting it into the call. I get it. You're up 100%, man. But is it worth it? I don't know. I'll short it after hours. And if it's good, great. But I don't know, man. I don't know why people think it's going to be crushing unless they couldn't get demand for NVIDIA chips and then they went that way with it. But then I don't know. I think I have to look about it. Daniel's EHE hang been great in Dubai. Love from Miami. Yeah, they're going to be all over that. They're all those jeans. They're going to fly off the shelves. Yeah, I think they will be talking about it. I don't think it's done, dude. I really don't think it's done. Like there needs to be some kind of event there to like, end it. And there's just not an event. And like there's going to be something that really like hits them. And then we're going to go from there. And then you'll get a reset. I'm going to have to jump here. Everyone say goodbye to Zagler. He's gone. All right. I mean, like of all the things to do, come and just be so angry. Why so angry? That's what I'm saying. Like it could be on the guide. And DeepSeek, there could be a lot of reasons why AMD could go higher. I just like tormenting people in the community because they don't buy NVIDIA. But if we're honest about it, like if I tease, but at the end of the day you want to make money. But if you're honest about it and you look from here over, from June, the one to own was AMD. I got to jump, guys. Trade to win. Make good choices.